So anyway, Ian, we were before we
Oh yeah,
started.
we're talking about this,
But,
right? So
pretty interesting topic.
I'm involved in currently. There is a thing going down between Destiny and Jean-Francois, whose last name I can't pronounce. He's a neuroscientist.
GARIEPY, I think.
Yeah, he's a neuroscientist at Duke University. Pretty smart guy. He has been in debates about the subject of race and neurology and all that stuff with Sargon. I think Sargon challenged him today. Mr. Mediker cited him and so on. So
Sargon actually backed out.
He backed out.
Yeah.
Oh, I would have liked to see that happen because they're both interesting to listen to. In any case, Destiny was in a spat with him. Still is, following a live stream that they had where Destiny lost that one because I mean you're debating this guy on his home turf. This is his field of expertise, right? You can't just cite Google. You're talking to the guy who actually researches this stuff. So I think some people did some digging and they found that Jean-Francois is in a relationship, or maybe was in a relationship with someone who is autistic, and they went straight for the ad hominems. They attacked him. They attacked his character, claimed that that he's a predator, that he is going after someone who, according to the court documents, because this person's legal guardians, I guess her parents, didn't want her to date him. And in the court documents, they cite a counselor, not a psychologist, but a counselor, meaning that he's not actually qualified or certified to make assessments on a person's psychological health, claiming that she had a mental health, not a mental health, but a mental age of 11 to 12. And this is when she was 19. And to my understanding, he made this assessment based on a previous assessment, which was made by an actual psychologist when she was around 14 or 15 or 13 years of age. So she was diagnosed with something called PDD, which is an intellectual disability. But however, it was later, she was reassessed to not have PDD. She was reassessed to have high functioning autism. So essentially, she is not a intellectually disabled human being. And in fact, the reason, like how she met Jean-Francois was through watching streams of the Drunken Peasants, and he was on one of them, and she reached out to him. They started speaking, and they hit it off from there. So this is not a stupid person that you're dealing with. This is a person who is of normal to average intelligence, who is high functioning, autist, who may require adult supervision, or not adult supervision, but just supervision, just like autistic people do. That is pretty common. But not at all the person that they are claiming that she is. They're claiming she's a child mentally, and this is absolutely not the case, based on the court documents and the medical records that were released of her. So I feel like this is an extremely disingenuous way to go after him. You can't attack his argument, so you attack his character, right? You impugn it. And
attacking the character, I feel like that is acceptable in certain cases.
Depending on on the subject, right? If a person is, for instance, arguing about, I don't know, let's say he's arguing about the right to free speech, or free assembly, rather, not right to free speech, but free assembly. But he has a history of causing riots. Perhaps he's an Antifa member who's caused hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage, or maybe he's a neo-Nazi who has led picket riots, right? So if you were having an argument about free assembly and how it's necessary, et cetera, you could cite his background and say, hey, you kind of have a history of rioting, so maybe you're not the best person to speak about this, right?
Yeah, exactly. When there's a hypocrisy or an obvious motive behind their arguments. Yeah, it's almost just the obvious move to call them out on aspects of the character.
Yeah. Whereas this
thing with JF, it's not so much. Obviously, it's shitty to go after the character rather than the points, but he's from what you're saying at least, misrepresenting it entirely.
Correct. He and his fans, like maybe I haven't really listened to what Destiny has said about him, but his fans are definitely going in really hard on Jean-Francois, and they are, misattributing certain claims to the report. They're stating things like, "Oh, but this guy is a counselor, so therefore he is qualified to make these medical assessments on this person." But actually, no. This person's a counselor who has a he's professionally certified as a counselor, so he can give counseling. But I do not believe that he's able to actually, say, "Oh yeah, this person, by the way, has so and so, disability or whatever," because he isn't medically trained to actually do that. So he's not the best person.
He's he might be involved in the field, but he's by no means an expert in the sense that it's used in that field.
Correct. And furthermore, on top of that, that's a redundant thing to say. On top of that, the hospital recommended that the girl be reassessed. Her intelligence needs to be reassessed, and the court did not go through with this. The court sided with the person, like her guardians, to not reassess her intelligence. So basically, she doesn't have her personhood. They belong to her parents. And depending on what that assessment is, like, I mean, what are they afraid of? What are they afraid of that they don't want to reassess her? Like, what's the harm?
I do need to make sure at this point. She was over 18, right?
Yeah, she's over
it's not
18.
like he would.
She's not a child or a minor at all. So she's physically, physically an adult, mentally an adult as well. Just happens to be autistic. Yeah.
Right. High functioning autistic.
It's one of those cases where there were fuck ups legally, and they ended up giving too much control to the parents. One moment.
Yeah, that's entirely a possibility, and it's sort of bothersome because Destiny is replying to me, and he said something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, so don't get mad. He said something along the lines of, "Oh, so you're second guessing the courts now, Ian?" And my response is, well, that's what the appeals process is for. That's what the appellate court is for, to second guess court judgments. And I don't know for sure if JF did so. I don't know if he appealed the situation. He might have just given up on it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we cannot second guess the court's decision. For example, very recently, a court in San Francisco ruled that a illegal alien who, by the way, shot and killed a woman, a 31-year-old woman, in 2015 or so, he was ruled not guilty of murder and not even guilty of manslaughter. He was just, sentenced to jail for some other minor thing. So we can definitely, I think, as individuals, question that decision, and wonder, I wonder if this could be politically motivated, because Trump used to talk about this whole case during the campaign, which he won, right? So he cited it as a court case, and then they decided, okay, he's not guilty, let's let him free. And that's exactly what happened. So a guy got away with murder, and this lady is dead. Great.
Fun.
That's I feel like that's the way the law should work. If you're any darker than I am, that includes you, Ian, a beautiful Asian man. You're allowed to murder whoever you want. You are a minority, and you don't understand your actions. Not only should you be able to get away with it, we should give you money to help you get past the trauma of having committed the crime.
Oh yeah,